Hi everyone, welcome to our first episode of our podcast, Illustration Unfiltered. This is something really big and new for me, creating a podcast live in English. This is something that I was expecting to do for a long time. I have done a few webinars in English, but a live podcast, a weekly podcast, and this is the first step into that. This is something really huge to me. So I'm really thankful for you to be here. If you're listening to the recording after on Spotify or maybe on YouTube, welcome. And I'm really glad that you are here. Okay, so my name is Victor Boyden, and I'm illustrator and also an artist and also entrepreneur, also content creator. And in this podcast, I'm bringing you a different point of view about the illustration profession, because what we usually see on the internet is like content and techniques and lifestyle and the romantic part of working with illustration. But I've been doing this for over 16 years, and I do know, I'm sure that all veterans also know that working with illustration is not so romantic as people paint it out there. We do have a lot of struggles, a lot of difficulties, a lot of fears, especially in the times that we are living now with AI and all the changes that are coming. So I wanted to create this new podcast with this new point of view. Okay, I do know that a lot of people, some people talk about that, but I wanted to bring my point of view on this subject. And I'm going to explain you in a few minutes why I chose to talk about this kind of content. So I've been illustrating for more than 16 years. I was an art director with more than 15 years of experience. They're not separated in the timeline. They overlapped one each other. So in 4 to 6 years, I was an art director and also an illustrator. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been teaching illustration business for illustrators in Brazil for more than 5 years. And I have a really successful course that I ended last year. I'm going to tell you why that happened. With more than 5,000 students, all teaching that, all of them learning about the illustration business, career, how to sell, how to market their work, how to enter the international illustration business. So why did I start to create the international course? Creating content in English is something really difficult for me because we as artists, usually we don't have the confidence, we do the trust on ourselves. Probably you don't trust so much about your work, your illustration, your art. I've been there, a lot of lack of confidence. And I do have this also with my English. And so in the middle of last year, in 2024, I started to create content in English. First a free class, then an ebook, and then a webinar, and then an online course, Portifa Express. It was really challenging, but I really had to start at some point. What happened? Why did it took me so long? My wife, Fernanda, she was telling me to create content in English for a lot of years, since the beginning of my educational project. But why didn't I start it first? Because I thought, first, I'm going to learn English better. First, I'm going to improve my skills. Then I'm going to start teaching in English. But then what happened? I was always procrastinating. Next year I'm going to study English, and then another year. So time was passing by and nothing happened until, okay, now it's time to do this. Even my English not being perfect, I do know that I can communicate, but I don't see my English as being perfect. I do know that there's a lot of improvement to do that, and that's okay. But I decided to take care of myself and work for myself and stop being so fierce, having so much fear. I decided to overcome my fears and start creating my content in English, to put my face on the front of the camera and creating content. But again, it started, I created the course. But again, when it came to somehow for me it was easier to create a webinar and an online course because there wasn't going to be so much people seeing it. It was easier than creating content to Instagram, for instance. Today I'm recording this first episode, and I don't have any content on my new profile. That I do have my profile in Portuguese with more than 100,000 followers, but my English profile, there's no content and no followers because, again, confidence. But this podcast, this content is the first step for changing that. Okay, so that's what is happening. And why it took me so long? Last year, some things happened, like a huge burnout that I had. Really huge burnout and also depression. And I felt disconnected somehow to illustration. I'm going to explain you why, okay? So first, what kind of subjects are we going to talk on this podcast? We're not sure. We're surely not going to talk about technique. There's not going to be live drawing and live illustration that I used to do in the past. But and also, I believe that I'm not going to talk about selling illustration, selling your art, even though when we talk about confidence and creating something that you love and something that connects with you and with the client, we are going to. This leads to selling your art to the market, because illustration doesn't exist without the market. Illustration and drawing are different things. So, what kind of subject are we going to bring to this podcast? So we are going to talk about the psychological part. We're going to talk about the struggles, about self-confidence, about fears, dreams. Then we're going to talk about portfolio, marketing, niche. Niche, is this word correct? I think it's niche when you narrow your audience. We're going to talk about what happens inside your studio. When you close the door of your studio, when you are concentrating, if you draw with a headphone, listening to music, what kind of things go into your mind, through your mind when you're drawing? I wanted to bring this kind of observations and discussions here because I do know that a lot of things happen like that, and not everybody is ready or want to talk about it. Okay, again, we want to show it is something about social media. That's how it works. We want to show the happy part of everything. Okay, everybody's successful, everybody is happy, but is it always like that? For instance, I've been illustrating for 16 years. Was like the happiest 16 years of my life? Maybe, but maybe not because of illustration. But maybe illustration was just a small part of it, okay? Not so much, actually. Illustration, I am a workaholic in treatment. I am saying that I'm a workaholic is slowing down, learning to slow down. So illustration, for a long time, it took too much part of my life, more than I wanted to. Okay, so why people usually don't talk about this kind of stuff? Because people fear of showing people that they are unsuccessful. People are fear or ashamed to show their failures. And I've been there so much, so much, that I'm not afraid of that anymore, okay? Because again, I'm doing a podcast in English, even though English is not my native language. Again, I'm not afraid of that anymore. But I believe that for us to not be so afraid, for us to be free of being ashamed, free of judgment, sometimes we need to go through pain. I don't think it needs to be like that, but that's what happens usually. So last year I had a burnout. Last year, my illustration course for selling illustration in Portuguese, there was only this course in Portuguese, not in English. It was really successful. We had more than 4,000 students, and then we created a mentorship. My team for the educational project, there was like 10 to 12 people on the team working with everybody. There was the illustration studio with 2 illustrators, a girl in the commercial team. So a lot of people, a lot of management involved. And then we created an event in Florianópolis, that in the south of Brazil, a really beautiful city. It was a really nice event where we met our mentors. Mentors? No, I was the mentor, so the students from the mentorship. I don't know the correct word, okay? So it was really nice, but inside I was burning, I was breaking down. I was with my burnout, and I was on stage and talking about everybody, about the career and everything. And when this event ended, I felt like, I talked to my wife, Fernanda, and I said, something is not right. So at that point, I started to feel disconnected from illustration. I was saying, like, how can I teach people to work with illustrations, to teach people to work with something that they love, if I am not loving it at this moment? So the disconnection started to arise there. And then all the months came, and then I told my wife, on October, we are going to launch the last class of this course, Ilustra SA. Ilustra, for you to know, is, in English, you say ILO for illustration. In Brazil, we say Ilustra for illustration. Okay, so Ilustra SA. Actually, I told you the name of the podcast was Illustration Unfiltered. It's Ilustra Unfiltered. I'm going to use the same term here, okay? Ilustra Unfiltered. So we launched the last class of Ilustra SA. It was really nice, okay? And a lot of people felt surprised. Why? Some people said, okay, you're doing that because now AI is here and AI is going to kill our profession. And they said, no, there's nothing to do with AI. Okay, I felt feared about AI, not anymore today, but it didn't have anything to do about that. It was about me, actually. I wasn't compelled. I wasn't happy with that kind of project. And then after that, I discovered that I wasn't happy illustrating anymore. And then again, I said, how can I teach people to live from illustration if I am not happy with that? But again, then after, this is something, there's a lot to do with the depression and the burnout. But again, all these kind of thoughts were in my mind. And then what happened? I said, okay, I do know a lot. I do have a lot of knowledge. I do understand a lot of portfolio because I was an art director. I was like 15 years hiring and seeing illustrators' portfolio. I do know what works or what doesn't work. I know the mistakes and everything. So I put the first course in English, Portif Express. It was really amazing, really nice course. You can sign up if you do today, but I'm not talking about that right now. Okay, so I do know a lot of. I do have a lot of knowledge and experience on that, and I still can pass this kind of knowledge to people. And then what happened is I said, okay, I'm going to create, I'm not going to draw anymore. I'm going only to manage the studio. And then we closed a deal with a big insurance company. We are still working on that project. But again, when I was drawing for that project, I said, okay, damn, dude, I'm not happy. I'm really not happy doing this kind of things. So, oh my God, Victor, are you saying I'm feeling depressed here because I thought it was going to be nice, this podcast, but I'm almost crying. Yes. But again, I think it's important for me to talk about this kind of things because usually, most of the times, working with illustration is amazing. Really, really, really amazing. Okay, it's really nice when you feel the smell of the paint, smell of your materials, or you feel the Apple Pencil sliding on the iPad screen, on the Android screen, on wherever you draw. It's really nice. The process of drawing is really, really, really nice. What I felt disconnected was with how things happened in my career, especially last year, okay? when we work with something that we love, sometimes it's all in. So what I did, I used to leave illustration 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, 24/7, right? A lot. So I was always consuming illustration, watching animation, reading comics, drawing for me as a hobby, drawing for my clients. I was teaching illustration. I was mentoring people, illustration all the time. But then what happened is, at some point with the burnout, I found a huge empty space inside myself. So again, I was breaking down. And then I had to find a new objective, a new goal with illustration. And then I said, okay, I'm going to talk about the bad stuff for the illustrators. Is it going to sell something? Is it going to benefit me? Probably not, or I'm not sure yet, but I think it's important. And then I said, okay, Ilustra Unfiltered, this is going to be my podcast. This is something that I'm feeling connected right now. This is something that I think is going to help people. When I started my educational project, I really wanted to help people, help illustrators. So what I thought, well, I'm not so good at drawing. At least that's what I thought at the time. Today, I think my illustrations are a little bit nice, but I thought I wasn't good. But I was getting money from illustration. So I said, okay, if I am not so good in illustration and I can live from illustration, I can teach people how to do that. So that's what I did, helping people to find clients, to work with contracts, to create their content, the newsletter, how to funnels, marketing, and selling for illustrators. But then I discovered a new passion. This new passion was helping people. So what I started to do, besides working with all this, the illustration studio, the illustration drawing itself, the educational project and everything, I started to study self-development. I started to study spirituality. And this helped me a lot. Really, really, really a lot. There was I don't know the name of this book in English. It's from Yogananda. Maybe you have heard about it. Let me see here. It's Biography of a Yogi. Let me find here. Biography of a... Yes, the autobiography of a yogi from Yogananda. So I started to read this book, and I started to read about Buddhism and meditation, and this kind of thing really helped me a lot. So I started in Portuguese a new project with my wife, helping people to find peace. Because after all this breakdown and everything that I'm telling you now, I found peace. It was really nice, and then I could see clearly everything in my life, and I found this peace. And then that's why I was comfortable to create this podcast and talk about this, because I'm in the middle of the healing process. I think everything is nice now, so I'm okay to talk about this kind of stuff now. So guys, is it nice to work with illustration? Yes, it is a lot. Again, it's nice to, when you take the pencil and you draw on paper and everything is really nice. You see the lines taking form. When you learn a new technique and you get the result that was in your mind, it's really, the sensation is amazing. It's amazing. Only when you draw, you know the feelings that you're going to have. Only like that. But is it nice every time? Again, no. Sometimes you're going to have creative block. Sometimes you're going to have bad results. Sometimes the illustration, the final result is really far from what you expected. Sometimes it's far from what the client expected. Sometimes you lack technique. Sometimes you lack confidence. And sometimes you spend a lot of time doing paperwork. Sometimes you spend time questioning if you are good for that, if you're a good fit for that. Sometimes you spend a lot of time thinking about the market, about the kind of work you would like to do. These kind of things can be really simple, as I show to my students in Portif Express, but usually people struggle with that. Sometimes you struggle dealing with clients. Some clients are nice, other ones are not so nice. Sometimes a big client, your dream client, it's hell on earth for you. And sometimes that small client that you thought it was going to be small, it was going to be problematic. Sometimes a small client is the best one to work with. So we don't know how the person that is going to be on the other side. But again, usually it's really, really, really nice. And then there's social media. When I started, social media was like giving baby steps. And with social media, what happened is like, okay, now I have to learn illustration, I have to create content, I have to create engagement, I have to create stories, post stories every day. A lot of pressure, and we do feel overwhelmed. Again, it was really nice if working with illustration was only drawing. That would be the dream. But again, was it really going to be a dream to draw every day, all the time? Sometimes it's nice to do paperwork, for you to take a break from illustration. When you are beginning, you think drawing and illustrating is so much nice that you think, oh my God, I would do this for the rest of my life. But for example, I love beer, and I love pizza, and I love snacks. And when you eat the first slice of pizza, you say, oh my God, I could eat this for the rest of my life. But try to eat pizza for 2 weeks straight. Dude, you're not going to, it's too much. You're going to, oh my God, I'm never going to eat pizza again. And sometimes working with illustrations like that, you draw so much that you may lose the passion, or you stop enjoying the process. Okay, I'm not saying that everybody's like this, okay, but sometimes some artists like to draw the same thing for decades, and some other people like to change the kind of illustration every day and every week. I am more like that. One of the kind of illustrations that I got the most kind of jobs, it was the search and find illustrations, like the Where's Waldo, Where's Wally illustrations, where you need to find stuff on the page. It was so nice to do that in the beginning. But then my first search and find illustrations took me like 12 to 15 hours. It was nice. Oh my God, too much time working on this. And then the last ones that I did, it was like 70 hours only on outlines, and another 50 hours, yes, to 120 hours in one illustration. And I said, dude, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I doing this? Even though drawing these small details was really nice. But again, when you do this too much, sometimes you do need to take a break. And I didn't take a break. That was my mistake, okay? That's what I don't want you to do. That's what I'm talking all about this. That's why I'm saying all this to you. Do take breaks. Sometimes, is it nice to work 100% with illustrations? Yes. But if you have a day job and you draw on your free time and you're trying to, I'm going to be really happy if I work only with illustration. A lot of my students were looking for that. Is it really nice to work 100%? Sometimes it's nice for you to work like on a bank or on an agency or on a grocery store during the day, and then draw on your free time. sometimes it's nice and also healthy for your head, for your mind, to have this free time from illustration, from creative work. Because creative work, what it does to our mind, it hijacks our mind. It's like it dominates our mind when you are working on this. At least for me, it's like that. I forget my wife, I forget my kids when I am in the middle of the creative process. I remember I was with them, but I was drawing in my mind. I was having dinner, having lunch, and drawing in my mind. That's how it worked for me. So sometimes having a break is healthy for you, okay? And I didn't do that last year. And then was illustration studio, educational project, and mentorship, and everything. In my mind and my heart was boom. I was breaking down inside, okay? So after the burnout, I had depression, creative block. So what I decided to do now, and again, the podcast is Ilustra Unfiltered. What I'm doing now, I have just entered a sabbatic year, okay? I am delivering two illustrations, actually. I'm creating the illustration poster for Oktoberfest in Brazil. There's the Oktoberfest in Germany, on Munich. But I'm drawing the poster for Oktoberfest in Blumenau, in south of Brazil. It's the biggest Oktoberfest in Brazil. I have just finished this illustration. And then the studio is working on that insurance company I mentioned to you. And I'm not drawing that. It's Amaury that is working with me. He's doing the illustration. That's it. 1 year without illustration. I am not on a creative block. I feel creativity. I feel I am drawing, but I need a break from commercial illustration. Okay? But Victor, how are you going to create content? How are you going to sell Portif Express? How are you going to sell a course about portfolio and selling illustration for people if you are not illustrating right now? Do you feel authentic? Well, I used to think that I wasn't authentic, that I needed to be illustrating all the time. If I was teaching people to get clients, I would need to have like skin in the game. I needed to be getting clients. But again, each client that I got, it was like more than 100 hours in one illustration because of the search and find. So there was a conflict of time for me. And that's what led me to the burnout. Okay, I thought that I needed to do everything and illustrate in everything to prove myself to everybody that I was working, I was in the market. Because if I wasn't doing that, I wasn't authentic to be selling an illustration course to them. But again, burnout came to teach me a lot of stuff. It was like that. And then I said, okay, I'm not going, and I was going to repeat the same mistake with the international course in English. And this podcast actually, it was supposed to happen like 4 or 5 months ago. But thank God I was in the middle of the burnout. Because again, I was going to do the same mistake. Imagine that I was going to do everything together. The course in Portuguese, illustration studio, illustrating, mentorship and everything, plus the content in English and English courses. I was going to die, I think. Probably, I am 42 years old, and my heart wouldn't take that. I'm really sure about that. So, again, I said, I'm going to be authentic to myself and to the audience and to my students. That's for me now, it's really clear that there is no problem for me to teach about portfolio and do portfolio reviews sometimes and do live sessions and live classes and sell Portif Express and sell ebooks and other courses that I'm planning during the year. There's no problem to sell this when I am on a sabbatic year, because this doesn't erases all my experience. I do understand about portfolio. I do understand about selling illustration, about selling art, because all this experience comes from my experience, from my work, but also about teaching 5,000 students. So I said, okay, I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. I'm not trying to convince anybody that I am authentic. I'm sure there's a lot of people is going to come to the haters are going to come on Instagram or maybe even here on YouTube saying, okay, Victor, you're teaching this, but you don't work with illustration yourself. But I don't care because I'm being authentic telling this, okay? And I'm really happy to be able to see this, to be free to talk like this. Okay, so, and create this kind of podcast with this sincere, to have this conversation. So in Brazil, I used to have like weekly lives. It was called Café com Ilustra. It's coffee with illustration, if we translate. I felt that at one point, everything for those lives were so orchestrated. They were real, they were authentic, but there was so much planning on that about the kind of content that I was and that I needed to teach on those lives, that in the end, when I stopped doing them, I felt that they were not connected with me. So this kind of podcast is me 100% real. I have my content here is just a few words written here. You can see here on the screen. Only that. For those kind of lives, just for you to have an idea, I used to have like 8 to 9 written pages digitally, okay? So there was a lot of content and a lot of control to everything. Now it's free, it's like conversation, it's a lot better to do, a lot more real for me and also for you. Okay, so I'm really enjoying doing this. So let me see here. So what kind of care is it? No, this is authentic. Let me open ChatGPT. How do I say cuidados? I forgot the word here. Care, yeah, it's care. Precautions, yes, or attention, points of precaution, points of attention for you to work with illustration. Please don't try to follow a market. People say, I want to draw for advertising, I want to draw for the gaming industry, I want to draw for children's book, okay? Why you need to take precaution with that? When I made the transition from being freelancer to a studio, I wanted to get more results, commercial results, again, because to prove myself to the students, to the audience and everything. And then I said, I created the studio to reach advertising agencies. But when you create a studio, you don't have control anymore to the kind of job that you are going to do. It was nice to draw the search and find illustrations, but when I changed, it was tiring to do that. But when I made the transition to the advertising to the illustration studio focused on the advertising industry, a lot of jobs that came were not connected to me. When you create a studio, you're just a supplier to an advertising agency. So sometimes you need to create an illustration to be used on a TV commercial. Sometimes you need to create an illustration to be used on a poster. Sometimes, like the Oktoberfest poster that I did now, is something that connects with you. Yeah, but most of the times, it's something that is not too much about you. It's about the result. Okay, so I felt really disconnected. So when you pursue a market, a lot of chances for you to disconnect from your work. You're going to be drawing something that you don't like. And again, I'm not being romantic here, but you do need to try to draw stuff that connects with you, with your values, with stuff that has something to do with your experience and your life. Again, in the long term, this is something that is going to keep you on the game, keep you on the game, okay? I've seen some people, like, I want to draw for advertising. And advertising is so huge. There are so different kind of brands that when you draw to advertising, again, you're going to be drawing stuff that sometimes are things that you don't even believe in it, on the product, and you'll be drawing for that. Oh, Victor, but we need to be professionals. We need to deliver what the client needs. Yeah, but we can also do that drawing things that we are connected to. This is something that I learned on the hard way. And actually, that's what I teach on the Portfolio Express, that you can draw what you like, and there's a client today wanting the kind of work that you do today. And this is something that it's really delight for me, because I think that I'm helping people to find a work that really makes them happy. And I think working with illustration has a lot to do with that. Being happy, doing the kind of stuff that you want to do, that brings you joy. Because imagine this, Victor. I am hardcore. I like metal. I like rock and roll. I like to draw skulls and fire and snakes and the devil and everything. And imagine that's on your day job, on your daily routine, you're drawing like stones and trees for a game company. It's nice, okay, it's just work, just job. Yeah, we need to do what we are being paid for. But again, guys, in 5 years, doing that, the same kind of stuff, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we're talking about profession here, about career. You're going to be tired and disconnected probably, okay? That's what I felt, at least. So when you draw things that you like, and you let the market find you, connect with you, it's a whole different story. It's a whole different story. Because again, you're drawing what you like. And as you get older, your tastes and the themes that you connect with also changes. And then if you do the kind of work that is connected with you, your portfolio can evolve, can go with you, can go along with you in this evolution, okay? So if you stop drawing skulls and snakes and everything, and then you're into aviation and spaceships and everything, or rocket science, then again, there's no problem for you to change your portfolio, for you to change the themes that you are drawing now. And then suddenly, you're 40 years old and you're going to have your first son. And your world is turned upside down, and now you want to draw teddy bears and adventures. Then there's no problem. Again, you're just going to make a transition from your portfolio, from your older portfolio to your new portfolio, but your work is going to be connected with you. And then you're going to be attracting different kind of clients. This is the difference. So if you're just pursuing a certain market, like children's illustration or board games, sometimes you're like in 10 years or 20 years, you love board games today, but are you going to be loving that in 20 years? Maybe, but maybe not. So please don't try to follow a market, pursue a market. Please try to pursue the themes that you love. This is something that is going to keep you playing the game on the long term. Okay, this is one of the most important advice I can give you now when you talk about career. Okay. So again, talking about Portfolio Express now, the idea here of this podcast is not to sell anything. The Portfolio Express and my courses are going to be always available for you to sign up, and you can learn about that. for you to have an idea, I don't even have a page explaining Portifa Express right now. Okay, but if you want to learn more about it, I can give you the recording for the webinar that I gave like 1 month ago. I can just drop me an email or a message on Instagram. I can send you the recording of the webinar, because there is no web page ready to sell the Portifa Express now. But I'm going to talk about Portifa, because that's what I teach the people there. I like to teach people, again, that they can find a kind of client, that there's a client today wanting to work with the kind of work that you do today with your skill level that you have today. You just need, again, to put your portfolio with strategy online, and then this is going to attract the clients in. And also, of course, you need to do your prospection and everything. You need to take your portfolio to the right client. But again, following your own steps, following and doing the kind of work that connects with you, that makes you happy, that brings you joy. This, guys, again, with all this white hair and all my 40 years, this is something so valuable, and sometimes people forget it. Sometimes we need it, and I was that guy. We need to put hard work. We need to work like 12 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours per day. Yeah, maybe. But again, you're going to pay the price. I paid this price. It was really, really, really expensive, okay? So again, try to do the kind of work that you love. I know I'm being repetitive here, but it's really, really, really important. Let me show you this. Just one a comment from one of my students from Portifa Express. His name is Jair. Let me put here on the screen. I think I'm going to need to read on my cell phone, because he sent me on Instagram, and the letters are too small here on the screen. Just a second here. It's on the screen, okay? But I'm going to read here on my cell phone. Got it. Just a second. Oh, here. So yeah, Jair sent me this. Hello, Victor. Hope everything is going better with our apartment change. We were doing changing apartments. This is the new one. When he sent me this message, I wanted to share great news with you, and this could even work as a testimonial. That's the word I missed. And this could even work as a testimonial for your future international Portifa Express courses. I always dreamed of being an artist / illustrator, studied a bachelor's in design, animation, and digital art, but ended working as a graphic designer for 40 years out of fear of not making a living from my art. I think this is the biggest fear of everybody. I'm not going to be able to live from my art. I did this fear myself, okay? When I changed from Curitiba to São Bento do Sul in Brazil, I had the chance to work with illustration, but I thought, I have a son now. How am I supposed to pay the bills with illustration? So I went to work to a pharmacy and drugstore. But this is a story for another time. But again, I had this fear. And then he said, in November, I got laid off from the company due to budget cuts. 3 days after that, I saw your webinar, the one I mentioned to you before. I saw your webinar on Instagram and decided to join. And your story really resonated with me. Now, almost 2 months after the start of Portifa Express, with only 3 projects in my portfolio, following everything I've learned from you, I just closed my first ever deal for an illustrated children's book for over $7K US. That's almost what I was making yearly as a graphic designer here in Mexico. So again, guys, doing the kind of work that Jair likes to do. So this is really important, okay? And I am telling you this now, is it everything is romantic about illustration? No, but there is this kind of thing that's really, really, really nice. So he said, so I just wanted to thank you. The course, it's not even done yet. And I can already say that's been the best investment that I've made for my professional career. Jair, thank you. And I'm really, really happy for you, okay? So guys, what I am showing this, to brag about the course or anything, no. Just to show for you that again, you can work with the kind of work that you like to do. You don't need to create work that you don't like doing that just because it's trendy, just because there's a certain market likes that, okay? Again, guys, in the age of AI, I think human connections are going to be more and more and more and more important. So when you connect with your art then connects with the client and also with the client's client. What I mean by that? Imagine advertising. Your work is not going to connect with Nike, but your work is going to connect with the runner that buys Nike sneakers. You know? Human connection. And you create human connection through your illustrations, through your art. This is going to be more available in a lot more over time. Again, and that's why I think it's so much important, because if you create empty illustrations, empty of value, empty of passion, the client feels that. The human inside that works on the client, on the company, feels that it's empty. So when you put your passion in your drawings, that is going to connect. Okay? So my advice here, guys, work with your art. Work with something that you love. But again, first place, respect yourself. Okay? And this is, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, learn to say no to clients. Learn to respect your free time. You don't need to answer the client when you are sleeping, when you are at night, at home, with your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, with your children. Sometimes we do need to rush. Sometimes we do need to work more. But put a limit to it, okay? I didn't put it on it. And now I'm paying the price. Thankfully, I am healing right now. But the price is high, okay? Again, you in first place. Okay, guys? So if you're watching the recording, if you are interested in Portif Express, there's a link here in the description for you to sign up for it. And also, if you want to watch the webinar, we are going to do the webinar again next month probably. But if you want to watch the recording from our previous webinar, do send me a message on Instagram, okay? Because then I can send you the link for the webinar. Or you can also reply to the emails I'm sending to you. Then I can send you the recording for the webinar for you to watch. Okay, it's really nice. A lot of introducing about the portfolio, and then there's all the explanation about Portif Express. Hopefully, until the next episode next week we are going to have the full selling page for the Portif Express, and you can see everything about the course in there. Okay, guys, hope you liked this first episode. Something different. I was really nervous before starting talking here. Again, it's different for you to think on a language that is not on your native language. But again, I think it went well, and I'm sure that it's going to be better and better as we go into the next episodes. Okay. So again, leave your comments. If you're watching on Spotify or on YouTube, leave your comments. Do drop me a line on Instagram. We are starting a new Instagram again. We're starting our new Instagram profile. I'm going to send to you via email for you to follow us. Actually, it's always also on the description here. Do take a follow, because a lot of content is going to be posted there. Okay, so see you next week on our episode 2. And if you have something that you want me to talk. If you have a suggestion about a theme or a topic that I can talk or discuss here, please feel free to drop me a line. Okay, see you next week. Bye bye.